I recently built a new PC. It wasn't exactly powerful, as I wanted to spend as little money as possible on it. It was good enough to run Source Engine games like TF2, but nothing like BF3 or Crysis. I was strictly looking for the cheapest way into PC gaming. Looking for a bit of nostalgia before I began playing some Team Fortress, I popped in my Halo CE into the disk tray and installed it. I have some fond memories playing with my group of friends and wanted to relive a bit of my past. I instantly started to have problems installing it. Aside from all of the minor compatibility issues this game has with Windows 7, I didn't have my CD key. Well, technically I still have it, but the game's CD key was tied to some other PC that was long gone. I was fed up with that, so I just booted up another game, slightly frustrated that I wasted about an hour of my life on that thing. It didn't take long for me to start looking for workarounds so I could play. I eventually found a keygen, and the game started to install. I picked the name I used years ago, Distioned, and hopped into the multiplayer lobby. I just picked a random game of CTF, and joined to see if everything worked. It didn't. A pop-up appeared and said the server's client needed to be updated. The error messages got weirder and weirder. I should have taken a screenshot of some of them. Some of them were almost laughable. Random selections of words would replace the error messages. Completely random. It seemed no one else online had this problem. The ones that did were told to try updating their game. This information was no use to me because I updated when I first booted it up. However, I still wanted to play. It didn't really matter if no one could join my gimpy out-of-date server. So I went and created an internet game. Before this, I started up Fraps to capture any weird error messages. I chose CTF on Blood Gulch. The game started to load. Now some of you guys that have played Halo extensively know that there are certain points on any given map you can glitch up to so people can't find you. These points require that you utilize glitches like pushing yourself through a wall with a vehicle. But there was always one I couldn't get to. It took such crucial mouse movements and careful precision to even make it to the first step. Since I had nothing better to do in an empty server, I re-attempted the glitch. So I got myself into a ghost, and made my way over to the middle-ish part of the map. I lined myself up against the pillar, and began trying to nudge myself into the wall. If you hurl yourself towards it too slowly, you'll just be knocked off to the side. If you do it too quickly, you will just plain knock yourself through the wall, into the abyss. Getting in between there is where I'm trying to get. A few tries later, and I'm in. That was the easy part. The next few parts are hard to explain in text. I had to kinda shimmy across the wall until I start to get pushed off by something invisible. I now have to jump on that invisible thing without sliding off. It's cake from there. A few tries later, and I had it. The vantage point this glitch had on the center of the map made it rightfully so for it to be the hardest to achieve. My victory was cut short when my Spartan drops dead. What the crap? I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. Maybe I was out of bounds for too long. I couldn't think about this for too long until I started dying randomly even more. I started to get creeped out. The text just said, Distioned died. I've never seen a pop-up like this in Halo before. I went down into my base just to make sure nothing was hitting me. I sat there for what seemed like minutes. I was observing everything. I leaned forward so my face was almost touching the monitor. My screen went blank for a second. I didn't have any time to notice what was going on when I heard this horrible screeching noise. I reacted by knocking my headphones onto the keyboard. Everything was dark. Dark to the point where I could barely make out anything. Then a player joined. The player who just joined my seemingly impossible to join server was named Juliet. I was thinking this must have been the person who was making me drop dead. It also must have been her who made that horrible sound. It seemed impossible for her to control my Spartan's life. Or even emit noises that aren't in the game. I wanted to see if I could go shoot at her, so I took off to the blue base. I was thinking maybe this was all a coincidence and a couple other players will join and this will just be a normal game of CTF. The outward appearance of the blue base seemed normal, but inside was something disturbing. On the left wall in the back, there were words which I made out to be, "Find me." I was just about to exit right out of the game, but I was stopped in my tracks when a text appeared on my screen. I nearly forgot you could chat in this game. Juliet, smiley face Distioned, who are you? Juliet, let's play hide and seek, smiley face. After I dropped dead once again, I quit and shut down my server. I didn't want to hear whatever she had to say next. And frankly, I was kinda creeped out by the whole situation. I honestly don't know if this is a normal occurrence. Maybe the community has been overrun with hackers and this happens all the time. So the gist of my plan is to play hide and seek with her and see where this takes me. I honestly don't know how I didn't make the connection between find me and her saying, let's play hide and seek. But here's the problem. This was probably just some one-time thing. A random occurrence. Although I'm giving myself the benefit of the doubt, I don't think she will ever come back. I'm still going to play though. Same setup and everything. It probably gives me the best chance of summoning Juliet again. And with all that out of the way, I don't think I have much else to say. Nothing much has happened since I quit out of the game. I mentioned that I had something creepy happen on my game during the trip. They seemed to find this hilarious and was their main source of ridiculing me, saying things like, oh, should we pack it up early? I don't want to keep you from performing an exorcism on your game disc. I'm going to play again as soon as possible. So expect another update tomorrow. I think I'm going to split my updates into different threads so I don't risk hitting the character limit. But I also don't want to be spamming your board. So what do you guys think? Paste M all together or split M up? Update: I didn't sleep last night. I was too excited to play. No, excited isn't the word. I was anxious to play. I wanted to get this out of the way so I could move on with my life. All I needed to do was just see if she would join again and play hide and seek. So why not pull the band-aid and play so I can rest easy tomorrow? Well, I did just that. I started up Halo and created a LAN server instead of an internet server. This time I'd know if some weird crap was really going on. I hit start server and the map started to load up. Well, the first thing I noticed was I could actually see again. Everything looked normal enough. This wasn't nearly as scary as I remember it being. I decided to give myself a 10-minute time limit to wait before I tried switching it to an internet game or just calling it a night. All I could do was fill the time by aimlessly wandering around Blood Gulch. This obviously got boring after 3 to 4 minutes. I started calling out to her. Distioned, hey Juliet. Getting tired here. Distioned, what am I supposed to do? That seemed to do it. Juliet joined. A strange mixture of fear and confusion came over me because I thought I had everything figured out. I thought that she was just a random player who was screwing with me. But now, it looks as if she was waiting for me. And on top of all that, I was playing on a LAN game. I didn't believe what I was seeing. Am I now supposed to believe she is some sort of magical technological ghost that transcends space and time? I don't know what I believe anymore. Juliet, do you want to play now? Distioned, yeah, my game froze and everything went dark again. But this time there was a noise. It was just looping over and over again. I started to look around for her, barely able to keep my mouse under control because I was shaking. I felt sick to my stomach. I didn't really want to do this. I don't know why I said yes to her. But I feel like I'd be letting you guys down if I didn't see this through. Juliet, count to 10. So I counted to 10. I was just going to search from the back of the map to the front. That seems like the most efficient way to go about this. I eventually found her crouched in a corner looking at me. Juliet, you found me. I didn't know whether or not she was just going to leave after I found her, so I immediately asked her, Distioned, who exactly are you? Juliet, that's not the question you should be asking. Distioned, then what should I be? Juliet, you should be looking for a place to hide. And with that, she quit out of the server. I tried for an hour after this trying to get her back. I even made a server named, Juliet please join, none of that worked. She's gone. After all, she got what she wanted. A simple game of hide and seek. The room was dark, just the glow from my computer lighting up the space. I sat there alone, the clock ticking loudly on the wall. I had just downloaded this new horror game, Shadows in Silence. Everyone said it was the scariest thing out there, and I was ready for a thrill. I hit play, and the game loaded with a creepy ambience. I found my character standing in front of an old, spooky house. The details were crazy real, the creaky floor, the wind howling, and the sound of footsteps. It felt like I was actually there. I pushed open the rusty gate, and it screeched loudly. The moon was shining, making everything look mysterious. I stumbled upon a journal with creepy warnings and horror stories at the entrance. It sent shivers down my spine. As I went further into the mansion, it got colder, and the silence was heavy. The dim candlelight barely lit up the narrow hallways. Every step echoed, making me feel uneasy. I opened a door, and it creaked as if it hadn't been touched in years. Inside, the air was thick, and the room felt like it had a presence. I saw an old mirror, and my character's reflection looked terrified, mirroring my own feelings. As I explored, strange noises surrounded me. Footsteps that weren't mine, whispers in the distance, and occasional distant screams made me jump. It was like the game was messing with my head. The game's realism was insane. I could almost smell the musty air in the abandoned rooms. The graphics made it hard to believe it was just a game. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was watching me. I stumbled upon a basement door, and as it opened, a chilling draft hit me. The stairs creaked as I descended, and the air grew colder. A flickering light revealed old furniture covered in dusty sheets. I could hear water dripping, echoing through the damp space. Suddenly, the game glitched for a moment. The screen flickered, and I felt a strange chill run down my spine. I shook it off, thinking it was just a technical hiccup. But things started to get weirder. The character in the game began mirroring my movements in the real world. If I turned left, it turned left. If I stopped, it stopped. It was like the game was controlling me, not the other way around. I tried to pause and exit the game, but nothing worked. It was as if the game had taken control of my computer. Panic set in as I realized I couldn't escape. I was trapped in this virtual nightmare. The atmosphere in the game grew darker. The once realistic sounds became distorted whispers, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck, even though I was alone in my room. The in-game character moved autonomously, leading me through the haunted mansion. The graphics started glitching, distorting the surroundings into a nightmarish version of reality. I questioned if I was still playing a game or if the game had started playing me. I reached a room that mirrored my own in the real world. The screen flickered again, and the reflection in the game's mirror wasn't my character, it was me. I stared at the screen in horror as the character mimicked my terrified expression. I slammed my laptop shut, but the game continued playing on its own. The whispers in the room grew louder, and the shadows seemed to detach from the screen, blending with the darkness in my room. A voice echoed, not from the game, but from my computer speakers. "You can't escape, player." It sent shivers down my spine. I felt a presence, something beyond the pixels on the screen. I reached for the power button, but my hand trembled. The room plunged into complete darkness as the power went out. In the silence, I heard a chilling whisper, "You're not alone." I fumbled for my phone, using its weak light to navigate. The game's whispers became my own fearful breaths. The air felt dense, and the shadows seemed to move independently. As I made my way to the door, it slammed shut on its own. Panic gripped me, and I frantically pressed buttons, trying to force quit the game. The screen flickered back to life, displaying a message, "You're a part of the shadows in silence now." I felt a cold hand on my shoulder, and a voice whispered, "Welcome to the game." The room blurred between the real and virtual, and I was consumed by the darkness. A few years ago, when Steam was old, real old, the retro days of Half-Life and Team Fortress, I had an account that I used to play Half-Life Deathmatch and generally play mods on. I had just about one friend on Steam at the time who I knew well. I never really interacted with people in online games. I got this ad from a guy called Toymaker26. I didn't recognize the name from any game I had played, so I declined. A week later on the same day, at around the same time, I get a notification that Toymaker26 has added me as a friend, which was creepy to say the least. I gave him the benefit of the doubt by accepting, thinking maybe he was a real-life friend or something. As soon as I did, a chat box pops up from him saying, "Hi, are you okay?" or something to that effect, but before I could say the generic, "I'm good," he sent me this link that was clearly a virus link. Being a fearless bastard, I clicked it just to see what would happen. Boy, what a mistake. The web page opened up with all these really low-quality pictures of people mutilated and this sound playing in the back like a really distant laugh that was on a loop. I remember my heart literally drained from fear. I'm sure you know the feeling. I obviously clicked out of it, but my desktop background was a close-up of one of the fucked up images. My disk drive kept opening and closing and a message box popped up asking if I was okay before my computer completely shut down. It never turned on again. A forever blue screen. We had to get a new PC, I remember. Apparently every file on the computer had been corrupted, even BIOS data. I still have no idea who Toymaker26 is to this day or why he did it. But all I know is those were some amazing hacking skills he's got. I was about 13 at the time and I was scared shitless. That experience makes me so afraid of the hacking world of the internet.